the BookTok Romance Fairy. So what are you doing here? You're not in the spirit for Valentine's Day, so I'm here to help. I'm in the spirit? It looks like the only spirit inside of you is the ghost of Warped Tour's past. Enough with the huff, read some fluff! But these are all steamy romances. Look, there ain't a lot of rhyming schemes for moody and steamy, okay? Stop being moody, read about the booty. That's actually pretty good. I know. Rollin'. Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Chey, and I'm not usually a romance book girly, but since it's Valentine's Day, I thought, why not give it a shot? This year and the past year, I've been trying to branch out in my taste, trying to diversify les palette. I don't know why I tried speaking French and doing Italian hand motions, but this is where we're at in my life right now. I knew that Valentine's Day was a perfect opportunity for me to actually get into the romance books that I've been hearing everyone else talk about, but haven't gotten the chance to get into myself. I chose 6 books that I finished over the past week, 2 just yesterday. Now I'm gonna rank them for you. I will also say that I didn't hate any of these books. I actually enjoyed every single one of them. The lowest I gave any of them was a 3-star, and a 3-star is not a bad rating in my book. Book pun. Starting off at number 6, we have The Bride Test. This is the second book. I would count it as a duology in the Love Quotient duology. I actually did read the Love Quotient, and it ranks higher than this one. This one wasn't a bad book. I liked the family dynamics carried over from the first book. This book follows Chey, who is the cousin of the male love interest from the first book. He's autistic and has trouble forming relationships, especially romantic relationships. So his mother goes to Vietnam, finds a girl, tells her, hey, come spend the summer with my son, convince him to marry you. You'll have a great life, he's a great guy, he just, he needs a little bit of help. She has a daughter in Vietnam. She is a cleaning lady. She hears this offer, thinks it's crazy at first, and then realizes, like, he's not bad looking. If I fall in love with him, great. Also, it's a great chance for me, my daughter, my family to have a better life. So she comes to America with the help of the mother. She moves in with Chey and spends the summer trying to make him fall in love with her, trying to seduce him, trying to make him realize that, he wants to be with her and he can have a romantic relationship. Did I like it? Yes. Did it slightly off-put me? Also yes. This felt forced. What made me all the more irritated by it was the amount of character building that went into Esme's character, the female protagonist. Esme is shown to have much more character depth than what a lot of people would stereotype her as, which is coming to America to get a green card. She wants to be college educated, she wants her daughter to have better access to an education, she wants a more stable home life. She is a fully fleshed out character human being, but I feel she is so often reduced to just the object of the desire for the male, and that is not something that you would usually hear me say. And I get it, it's part of the book because her whole thing is like, I gotta seduce him to make him start wanting me. So she gives into that herself a little bit. She plays into that herself a little bit. Empowerment, that's her choice, her body, her choice. What the problem is that when her and Chey start to have a rift, as drama happens before they always get back together at the end, she digs deeper into these convictions, like, okay, even if he won't marry me, I'm not going to go home at the end of the summer. I'm going to find a way to stay in this country. I'm going to take classes. I'm going to get college credit. I'm going to find a way to make a better life here for me and my daughter. And I was, like, rooting for her. I was like, yes, go Esme. Like, good for you. I'm happy for you. Not that Chey was, like, terrible to her or anything. But I was glad that she was able to come out on the other side of this, still not, moping and weeping completely over him. Like, of course she was sad, but she still had her convictions to tie her down and her ambitions to be like, yes, this is gonna forward me through. Then it all comes crashing back whenever he comes back. I just feel like the beginning was so formulated, so calculated, that it almost just... I don't know, it feels kind of icky to me. It feels icky. Do I think they fell in love along the way? Do I think the romance was real? Did I like the romance? Yes to all 3 of those questions. It's just the beginning and how the ball started rolling that made me feel icky. He didn't want to be in a relationship for a reason. Just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. He was fine. It felt too much like pushing on him that he needed fixing, that there was something wrong with him and he needed fixing. And I don't like that sort of approach. I really felt for Chey at the beginning because he only said yes to it when his mother told him, because it's his mom, and she was like, listen, if you do this one time, and it doesn't work out. Fine, I'll never do it again. Just, like, bear with it for the summer. Have her live in your house for the summer. And he's like, okay, fine. I was totally on Chey's side. I was willing to give Esme a chance. I was like, yeah, come on, like, come in here and see if, like, you guys fit, you know, organically together. Let's see if you guys fall in love. But it set up from the beginning as a plan to really, not trick, but it feels like trick him into marriage is just, bleh. When I was really on Chey's side and I ranted to my partner about this, is when Esme came in his house and started changing things around. She, like, moved his tissue boxes, she moved his toothpaste and, like, his socks and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, no, she would have been out of my house immediately. She changed up all my routines, she changed up where I know everything is, without even asking me. No, no, we're not doing that, no. Maybe I wouldn't have kicked her out, but I would not have liked her very much. And Chey didn't either, and she didn't seem, like, to understand why he was upset, and I was like, you don't even know this guy. This guy literally met you yesterday, and you're changing around his entire house. He has routines for a reason. And of course, she didn't know that he was autistic. She didn't know any of this. And of course, it leads to a better understanding, better character development as she does learn and develop strategies to work with him, learn what he needs, how to help him, how to be a better partner with him. But at the beginning, it was very frustrating. It frustrated me to no end. I was like, girl. All in all, I really did like this book. I thought the character interactions were really cute. I liked getting to follow the characters, again, that we met in the first book and get to understand their family a little bit better, a little bit deeper. I think this book does great at dealing with the everlasting effects of trauma. More than that, how it can manifest differently in others that experience the same situation. But showcasing how that trauma has rippled through in different ways and how other people misunderstand other people's ways and their reasons is very realistic, it's very poignant, but I think it was discussed with maturity and grace. And I love the discussions around autism, how it affects others, how it affects the person that has it. I thought it was well done without being pitying. I applaud this book for that, just like I applaud the first book. Number 5 is Royal Holiday. Royal Holiday follows the story of Vivian Forrest and her daughter Maddie as they go across the pond for Christmas because Maddie is a stylist along with her friend, and her friend has to take surprise maternity leave when her baby comes earlier than expected. She asks Maddie to take over her job styling the Duchess for the holiday Christmas season. Maddie gets to go over to England and decides to bring her mom along for a once-in-a-lifetime work trip. Vivian is a hardworking, loving mother. She's a social worker. She's very intuitive and empathetic. While Vivian and Maddie are staying on this royal estate with the royal family during the holiday season, Vivian strikes up a friendship with the Queen's private secretary, Mr. Handsome Malcolm Hudson. They start hanging out around the cottage, taking walks, riding horses, he starts showing her around, romance starts blooming, and she thinks, why not have a vacation fling? This is my last chance to sort of relax, I'm up for a promotion at work, I'm gonna be a lot busier, Maddie's doing her own thing, she's a grown woman, I can chill, I can have fun. Why not have this whirlwind romance? I really like this book, but I don't think it's that memorable. It didn't really strike me that much. I'm glad I read it. It was fun. It was sweet. And I really liked the dialogue between Vivian and Malcolm, especially when talking about family issues or working through emotional issues. I also think that they just had great chemistry. But it was nothing that blew me away. If you want a sweet little holiday romance set in London, going around London, talking about it, and just some sweet, wholesome dialogue along with more steamy-ish moments, I recommend it. Number 4, we have the kiss quotient. I think I said it was the love quotient earlier. I meant this, the kiss quotient. This is number 1, this is number 2. Don't take that out of context. This book, I think, did a much better job of what the second book was trying to do. At least in terms of formulating a more organic, out of the norm, but still lovable love story. In this book, we follow Stella, who is an econometrician. She's a lady that studies the economy and helps make up algorithms and studies the market data and all that. Someone who is much smarter than me. She is autistic and has trouble with more physical, romantical relationships. And the book starts with her mother telling her, hey, we want grandkids. And that's a problem for Stella because all she's ever had is bad physical intimacy experiences. Her experiences with bad physical intimacy come with her sensory issues, come with her overload, and people not understanding her needs or, frankly, not caring. Wow, shocker. Instead of going through the rigmarole of dating and putting herself through just more and more torture, she decides to go to the source, a professional, and hires a male escort to try and teach her and give her lessons on how to get better at physical intimacy. I think you can see where this is going. I really love that entire premise because it was so different from anything that I've heard. Maybe I'm out of the loop, maybe it's not that different from a lot of romance novels, but I thought it was different and I was hooked from the get-go. Michael is the male escort slash love interest, and he doesn't usually do repeat dates, repeat customers, but something about Stella really intrigues him, plus they kind of hit it off during the first date and don't really get to where she wanted to be, so he thinks, you know, we'll try a few more times. That leads into a more extensive fake dating scenario, and the ball keeps rolling. I don't have to explain this to you. You know where this is going. I absolutely adored this book. I am not autistic or have Asperger's myself that I know of. I am actually in the process of getting screened for it, but I'm not self-diagnosing with this book. But I did, like I mentioned for the other one, love the representation in this book because I didn't feel like it was pitying at all. I thought it was very empathetic and understanding and straightforward. Something I will say is that I felt attacked by this book. The way Stella thinks about and processes and breaks down people's reactions and their emotions to things she says or just like their facial features, that's what I do. That's literally how I think every single day. I felt like this author was inside my head. Because emotions are hard for me to describe. I can't really describe emotions. They're more like physical feelings for me. I have to break them down into logic. I say I feel attacked, but actually I feel validated more than ever. I feel seen. So thank you. Thank you, Helen. I feel seen. I don't feel crazy anymore. Stella gets it. I love Stella. Also, the descriptions of sensory overload in this book. I struggle with sensory overload a lot, therefore I really appreciated when it was brought up in a real way that wasn't exaggerated or made like she was made to feel stupid at the end of it. I also just want to say, we love Michael in this book, the king of consent. If Stella even seems slightly uncomfortable with something, he's like, no, we're not doing it. Like, I'm not doing it until you're 100% sure you're cool with this, and we make sure you're cool with this. We love it. It's so nice to see. It's so nice to hear. It's steamy, it's cute, it's sweet. I love it. Recommend it. Number 3, we have Evvie Drake Starts Over. Yes, it is Evvie, not Evie. Get it right or she gets mad about it. This book I originally found in not a thrift store, but a discount store, and the back intrigued me so much, and also is a step out from my usual taste because, like I said, I don't usually read romances. Even more so, I don't usually read sports romances. This can't really count as a total sports romance, but it involves a pro baseball player, so I think it's close. It's a start for me, alright? Evvie Drake is a recently widowed woman in a small town in Maine. Her former husband was a very rich doctor who left her in a very big, lonely house after he passed on. Problem is, Evvie was in the car to leave him when she got the call that he was dying in the hospital. Now, Evvie, racked in pain and guilt for a number of various reasons, sits alone off in her house almost a year later, wondering what to do with her life. She's surrounded by not only his stuff in the house, but the memories and his reputation around this small, sleepy town, as sort of like a saint, sort of like a hero, when at their home in private he was very much not. Her best friend is a guy named Andy, who his childhood friend, Dean Tenney, grew up to be a pro baseball player. Recently he's been having trouble because, for some reason no one can explain, he can just no longer pitch. He's not pitching straight, he can't strike anybody out, he's just failing and failing and failing. Down and out, he's looking for a place to escape, just a place to get away. Andy suggests to Evvie, he's like, hey, can he come stay in your apartment just for the summer to get away from New York? He'll pay you rent, you can have a little bit of cash money, it'll just be for the summer. And Evvie is like, you know what, sure, why not? Part of the rule when he rents the house is that he doesn't ask about her husband and she doesn't ask about baseball. Guess how long that rule lasts. Either way, they start building up a friendship as they interact just in and out through the house, interact with their best friend, mutual best friend, Andy. She starts opening up about her life, her secrets that she hasn't even told Andy or her father that she's been holding in for so long, and Dean shares with her, of course, his fears, his anxieties, everything that he's been struggling with since the media downward spiral. Obviously, that friendship then turns into something more as that trust builds, and they have to decide how and if they're gonna move forward with that, and if they are, they're gonna have to deal with their pasts first. Why did I love this book so much? Number one, the banter is hilarious. I love these characters. All of the characters are so fleshed out. The small town that she's from is so real. At one point she mentions to a reporter, she's like, listen, my dad built this porch in like 95-degree heat. I was born and raised on this town. If I kick you off of my porch, no one is gonna blink an eye. And I was like, yes! Yes, Evvie! The banter is hilarious, but also I feel it's realistic. A problem that I have with romance novels, and this is so stupid, but a problem I have is I often just feel that they're too quick. Listen, I know people fall crazy in love head over heels very quickly. I know people who got married within like 2 weeks of knowing each other and they were married for 50 years. Very happily, actually. Not like they fought it out and stuck together. They were happily married for 50-something years. And then I know people that it took 10 years for them to get married and they've been married just as long. I know romance isn't logical because love is a feeling and inherently illogical, but my brain just doesn't get how people can like meet for 20 hours and then all of a sudden they just have this undying devotion to each other and, you know, they're my person forever. I will never be apart without them. I'm like, how? What's their middle name? What's their favorite color? I know you're supposed to learn about each other as you go through life, but do you know anything about them? How do you, it doesn't make sense to my brain, but love doesn't have to make total sense, and I get that, I respect it. You know, like some people have to have that willing suspension of disbelief for horror movies? That's what I have to have for romance novels. I have to have a willing suspension of disbelief. At least when it comes to very quick romances. I'm very much a slow burn gal. I don't need a snail's pace slow burn. What I do need is for them to know each other's full names before they put on the wedding rings. This book does that well, and I also don't need to see every interaction they have to know that they're falling in love. I think a lot of hints can be given. I think a lot of context can be drawn from what is shown. You know, show, don't tell, blah blah blah. This book, I think, has the perfect amount of slow burn. I think it has the perfect amount of realism for me. The friendship is shown to grow after them living with each other, interacting like every day when he comes into the kitchen to make breakfast, or they share tea and they talk in the mornings before they go their own separate ways. That, to me, makes sense. You're interacting, you're seeing each other every day, and it's not just all of a sudden they're making out on the couch. One of the first interactions we have that shows their budding friendship is talking about them being on the couch together watching a soap opera, which apparently they have started watching every week together because he walked in, saw it on, and was like, what's that? And then they made it a weekly thing, and I was like, okay, we have steps here. I can see the progression. To me, that just makes more sense, and it makes it more fun to follow along rather than just, oh my gosh, I saw you 10 feet away in your eyes. I would die for you. Give me more of this. Give me more budding into romance. I need to see the progression. I want to see the progress. Also, I am 100% sure that Dean Tenney was based on Jensen Ackles. 100% sure. Number one, his name's Dean. Number two, they describe his eyes as like green with gold flecks. Do you know how many times this 2014 Tumblr girlie saw Jensen Ackles' eyes described like that? That's my conspiracy theory. Jensen Ackles was the model for Dean Tenney in this book, and I'm not mad about it. Numbers 1 and 2 are actually by the same author, but I'm gonna go over number 2 first. And I can already feel disapproval coming my way, but I don't care. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I feel like a lot of people enjoyed this a lot more than Beach Read. I did not. I love this book. As you can tell by all these books that I really enjoyed, that means I really, really like this one, and I did. The number one thing that I liked about this book was how funny it was. Charlie Lastra is hysterical. I am a big fan of the rivals to lovers trope. I just think there's so much room for opportunity, so much room for banter. I'm a big banter girl. I love banter dialogue. This book has plenty of it. Every time that the Bigfoot novels were mentioned, I was cackling. I forgot to tell you what this was about, didn't I? You probably already know what this is about. This book has been everywhere. The female protagonist, the female protagonist is Nora Stevens. She is, well, she's called the Shark. She's a publishing agent. And Charlie Lastra is a very cold, very shrewd editor. They don't have a very good first impression of each other when they meet in person. Their meeting goes south. But then a year later, she's traveling with her sister on a vacation to a small town based on one of the best-selling books of one of her authors that she agents. She runs into him in the town, and they're both stuck there for the month. She's stuck there for the month with her sister, and he's stuck there because of reasons we find out later, and they have to end up working together. Rivals to lovers ensues. Now, I'm actually going to talk about the first book before I mention another point with this book. Number 1 is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I love this book. This is one of my new favorite books. Maybe not of all time, but definitely one of my favorite books that I've read this year. One of my top romances that I've ever read. I don't remember quite how people were feeling about this book, and honestly, I don't quite care. This book follows 2 authors who were rivals in college and are rivals now. January Andrews writes best-selling romance novels. Augustus Everett writes literary fiction. Call out to Philip Roth. They are not only rivals, they're obviously polar opposites. They haven't seen each other in years since college when they had an encounter together they would honestly kind of rather forget because it kind of throws the rivals into question. But she moves into a cabin that was left to her by her father after he passes away. She's sort of in a crisis. She has to get a book done in the next 3 months. She's out of money. Her family has fallen apart. She's discovered some very disturbing, very hurtful family secrets that were dredged up after his death. What does she do when she looks out the deck next door to her cabin, seeing Augustus Everett as her next door neighbor? After running into each other a few times, they make a deal where they basically have to write the other's genre by the end of the summer. He has to try and write a happy romance, and she's got to try and write the next great American novel. To actually be kind to each other and help each other out, they decide to go on field trips to teach the other about their own genre. Plenty of opportunity for romance, plenty of opportunity for shenanigans. Like book lovers, the banter in here is to die for. I absolutely love it. The notes that he and January write back and forth had me not quite on the floor, but I was cackling in my bed. And I don't get fictional crushes that often. I think my last one was Ronnie in the Flamethrowers, which, if you remember that rant, I'm sorry, not sorry. But I fell hard and fast for Gus. He is probably my new biggest fictional crush. I absolutely adore him. One of my dream fictional men. I understand why some people don't like him or why some people find him annoying or would be turned away from him. That's fine, but he's my type of guy, and that's what matters. My fictional crush. Now, to the points I want to make about both these books. I loved both of these. I loved how they dealt with character development. I loved how they dealt with intricate family trauma and drama. How the decisions of others can affect your decisions even later on down the road in ways that they could have never imagined, expected, or wanted. All of the characters feel real. The towns feel real. Everything is fleshed out. Everything is its own individual, which I appreciate. There is no laziness, I think, when it comes to the character building in these 2 stories. I love when books handle complicated emotions very well, clearly. These books, I think, are another example of that, and how those emotions can often mix together and seem hypocritical of themselves of how to feel about them, but you still feel them anyway because logic doesn't apply to emotions. The reason that Beach Read eked out over book lovers is actually because of said character development, character fleshing out that I'm talking about. I love Charlie Lastra, another one of my dream fictional men. My current partner actually reminds me a lot of Charlie Lastra, but not quite as grumpy or cold. I also remind myself of Nora in my approach to work. I love Charlie, I love Nora, I think they're both great characters. My problem with this book is that compared to this one, by the end of this book, I felt that I knew both of these characters inside and out. I knew their flaws, I knew their fears, I knew what they loved, their anxieties, how they felt about each other's fears and anxieties. I saw how they helped each other grow, I saw how they helped each other develop, I saw how they grew together and on their own. I truly feel that I got an X-ray into both of these characters, into their souls, into their backgrounds, into their motivations, everything about them. This book sort of got that, but it felt more heavily sided towards Nora on that. I definitely don't feel like I knew Charlie as well as I knew her by the end of the book, which, not the worst thing in the world. Personally, I would have liked to seen just as much exploration of Charlie's inner fears, inner motivations, his character growth with her, alongside her, as much as hers, just like this book did. That is the reason that this book eked out over this one, because I think it showed not only how they grew as people, but how that then affected the growth of their relationship and how their relationship came to be what it was. This book felt a little bit too fast-paced in that department. But I still enjoyed it, I still loved it, it still felt real. So there you have it. 6 romance books read by someone without a heart. My idea of romance is my almost 5-foot shark named Cheryl. I really surprised myself with these books. I enjoyed them. I truly did enjoy them, and I learned a lot. I found some new favorite characters, some new favorite books. That's gonna be it for me and Cheryl today. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm sure you've heard it today because it's Valentine's Day, but if you haven't, I love you. Love and peace.